Welcome to Invictus Motors. You're here with Basheer, and we're going to be reviewing this BMW M4 Competition pack. The purpose of this video is to tell you what it's like and what you could expect out of the M4 Competition pack. So before we can get into the video, don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up or to the channel. Whatever revenue or whatever money we make from the YouTube channel gets donated to charity. We've got a big project happening in Afghanistan, which is where we are from. So any help, any donation from you guys would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, just by watching, you actually contribute to a good cause because the revenues goes to a charity. Well, let's start. Initially, I love the fact that you've got the BMW badge colors here going across through the seatbelt. Very nice. Right from the get-go, the beautiful thing about it is that it's keyless entry. We're going to reverse a little bit as we're parked facing front. And this is another beautiful thing about the BMWs is that they're made as a car that you can practically daily and enjoy every single day. You know, it's a car that has phenomenal horsepower, a phenomenal engine, and you can still drive it, you know, and treat it as a family car. From the get-go, the M4 Competition pack is a phenomenal car in itself. Just the way they look, the way they handle. But the Competition pack takes it to a whole different level. And it's the added bits of spec and the added performance or a tune that you might describe it to be that makes it that whole lot better. Now, we're going to also cover this M4 Competition pack in terms of its driving capability. What is this like? How it handles? What the spec is? So obviously it's finished in this beautiful San Marino blue. It's an amazing color, and it looks great. And in some ways it stands apart from the traditional silver or black colors that we tend to find. So, you know, kudos to BMW for this color. I guess, you know, a color of this hue has always been part of BMW's history, but the San Marino blue, I think, or blue in itself, I think has always been slightly like a BMW color. I think we've always associated blue with BMW as well. I have. You've got on the interior, you've got this beautiful Silverstone interior, and you get these amazing seats in the Competition pack, almost bucket-like seats, but they are, I think, almost 16 or 18 way adjustable, and you get two keys with it. So you've got memory settings, so you can store the adjustments of the seats to your key, which is very handy to have. And this M4 Competition pack, it's on a 2018 plate, and currently it's done 14,747 miles as we speak in my test drive, and it's in absolutely phenomenal condition. Considering that it's now 4 years old, you've still got the tiny bit of plastics that you find here on the M4 badges just under the headrest. A really nice, lovely touch. You've also got the heads-up display, which makes it extremely handy to be able to sort of not look slightly down to your dash, but actually just carry on looking into the windscreen, into the view in terms of where you're driving, and be able to see the speed. So it's a nice thing to have as part of this. You've also got the M4 Competition wheels, and I think it's very important when it comes to a car like this, considering that it's already, I think, offering you in the region of 460 brake horsepower, that it should be as standard from factory, that it shouldn't really be messed about, despite the fact that they are twin turbocharged, that they can give you added the BHP or torque. Should you want to, you can do, a stage 1 or a stage 2 remap quite easily. But it's nice to have these cars as stock, because not everybody wants to get every extra BHP out of their car that you can possibly get out of it. I think be happy with what you've got. This is extremely key when it comes to sports car, well, at least for me. So it's nice to have this as standard, not messed about. And if somebody does want to remap it or change the tune or turbos or put some body kits on it, they're more than welcome to do so. It's a good base to start off with. So which is probably another reason that it's nice to get these as standard. Now onto the performance. This has a phenomenal engine that produces, as I said, in the region of 460 bhp. On one of the websites it quotes as 444 bhp, and then 600 newton meters of torque, and the 0 to 62 is possible in 3.9 seconds. MPG wise, combined, you can get about 32 miles per gallon, going up to about 34, 35 miles per gallon. And on the motorway, it's amazing that this is able to do 42 miles per gallon. Now, what are these like to drive? Just from being behind the steering wheel in the driver's seat. Well, firstly, you've got this beautiful multifunctional steering wheel. It's very easy to grip onto, hold onto. It's multifunctional, whereby you've got your cruise control buttons here, your speed limiter, your sound controls, your voice command, pick up or drop telephone calls button here as well. But you've got the benefit of having these two little buttons here, which is the M1 and the M2 on the left side of the steering wheel, where you can actually store your individual performance settings. But if you actually just put your foot down, and this isn't heavily putting my foot down, this is just slightly, the speed it gets up to is phenomenal. I'm not going to be mentioning what I'm traveling at, but you also get a very nice sound, a very natural sound, as if this is naturally aspirated, but it is turbocharged. We're coming up to a bit of traffic, so foot off the accelerator slightly. We are going to push it a little bit in a little while, just to get a full measure for the torque and the grunt it offers. But before we can get into that part of it, let me just tell you a little bit about the service history side of things, because this is for sale with us. Bit of an opening. It's just so quick and so responsive, and now service history wise, this has just been in at BMW just a few months ago for a service, I think, where the microfilter, the air filter, I think cabin filter, and the oil change was done. Also, it's had a full health check, and the full health check completely came clean with no advisories or no amber items whatsoever. Owners wise, from new, considering this is just over 4 years old now, it's had an owner per year on average, and the current owner has had it for approximately 1 year or just less than a year. He purchased an Audi R8 V10 from us, and ownerships in general, when it comes to the performance cars, I mean, they tend to change hand on average once per year. This is what we tend to find. It's rare to see that somebody keeps one of these cars for 2 to 3 years, and that is simply down to the fact of, you know, the cost of financing these cars is incredibly cheap. And just to give you some sort of an idea, the person that traded this in and bought the Audi R8, he purchased the Audi R8 at £80,000 and said, I'm going to finance that as a completely separate deal, and you can buy the M4 from me separately. Totally agreed. On 48 months, a lease purchase with a 60% balloon payment, considering the fact that the Audi R8 was a 2016 plate, so didn't even qualify for a PCP, and he only put £5,000 deposit towards it. He was able to get the monthlies down to about £942, and that's to give you an idea how cheap it is to finance something that is worth £80,000, which is why, you know, one on a PCP is able to finance this, you know, with £5,000 or £6,000 deposit, in some instances with no deposit, extremely cheaply, anywhere between £300 to £400. In some cases, depending on the kind of deposit you put forward to it, it could be even cheaper. So this is why these cars in general, the sports cars, especially for the past 10-15 years, they tend to have rather high owners, or you could say an owner on average per year, purely because, you know, you can't finance them for almost next to nothing, because you're simply financing the depreciation on these vehicles. And in some instances, after owning something like this for a year or 2 years, sometimes you come out at the other end where you've actually made a little bit of money on the car. So you tend to end up having a car that you've enjoyed and appreciated and had a bit of fun in over a course of a year, and come out absolutely positive out of it, where you've not lost any money in that car whatsoever. And, you know, that tends to sometimes be positive things if you are on the receiving end of it. But the way I've always explained it is, think of it as, imagine you've rented one of these cars for a whole year. What are you prepared to pay to rent something like this for a year, and then have the joy of putting, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 miles? Are you prepared to pay £4,000 or £5,000 for a year of renting this? I mean, I would be, because if you're simply renting this for a weekend, it costs you £400 or £500. So over a course of a whole year, £4,000 to £5,000 isn't a great deal of money. And this is where somebody could come in and essentially buy this, if they want to, outright for £38,000 and drive it for a whole year, get the mileage to £20,000 to £25,000, and still part exchange it into a dealer for £34,000, £33,000 extremely comfortably. But let's start to press these buttons and get a little bit of an experience out of it. So I've pressed M1, which is in very soft settings. Pressed M2, a couple of slight changes, one of them being the steering wheel is a bit more stiffer. The little buzz is the range on this. It's on a 29-mile range. It's a nice sound. As we're driving through a fair bit of traffic, it's difficult to really put my foot down to illustrate this, but, you know, it's one of these cars that you could definitely take out on a nice, lovely road trip somewhere to Wales, Scotland, or to the south of France, if you like, and really enjoy it and have fun, and, you know, appreciate the best of what BMW has to offer. It's also extremely comfortable on the inside. You've got the seats that do a phenomenal job. got all the gadgets, and you've got the performance. Fourth gear. Gosh, it really goes. What a spectacular sound. Even just in comfort settings, nothing pressed, nothing messed about with exhaust or tune wise. So it is really a pleasurable experience, and the way it handles and just corners around roundabouts. I really don't need to be doing this roundabout at 20 miles an hour, because it handles so well, and I can almost do them at twice the speed. But you've got to, considering that the power is all transmitted to the rear wheel, you've got to make sure get some temperature into the tires, and just initially start it off with a little bit of a safety point of view, where make sure the roads are nice and dry. So I appreciate you guys tagging along for this journey, in terms of just talking about this car, the M4 Competition pack. And there's a lot more to share than what I've been able to share, but I guess I've done what I could, knowing that I've spent a fair bit of time in traffic. And thank you very much for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.